Let's go to Deb Pead, Pead PR. Also with us this morning, Chelsea Daniels, host of the Front Page podcast. Good morning.
Morning.
Anna.
Good to see you both. Tolling the harbour bridge. Deborah, would you pay, and it's not both ways, it's $9 one way to get across the harbour.
Look, we've been arguing about a second crossing on the harbour bridge for 20 years now, and we've delivered a big fat zero. So at some point, you've got to price the plan or live with it. And I would say yes. I mean, infrastructure costs money. Infrastructure costs money. But the fact is, we're already paying. I pay with my time. Congestion is a cost. And, minimum wage is $23.50 an hour. I'll happily pay $9 rather than spend $23.50 an hour in time. So Auckland is already paying with time, and it's what value you put on your time.
Yeah, and if we get scared by $9, Chelsea, we'll never build anything.
Yeah, but I do think it might become like a slippery slope. So I had friends in Sydney, and I don't know if you've ever been driven through Sydney, but some people
tunnels.
Some people go through 3 tolls a day. So it's like if we're going to toll things, we should probably start talking about caps now, because there are some people over there, they've only just thought about hey, maybe we shouldn't charge people $50 a day to get to work, you know what I mean, to and from work.
That is true, but there are other forms of transport, or will force people to get into
Everyone's
buses.
going on those ferries.
They will think about, where they live. So there's other ways to skin that cat. But you're right. I mean, tolls can add up, and you only have to drive through the streets of France or through the roads in France to know that you're forever feeding the machine if you go on those superhighways. But that's the cost of good infrastructure.
But also, that's the report makes this point, Chelsea, doesn't it? That you will switch some people from roads and in their cars to other forms like trains or whatever.
Yeah, have you ever been at the ferry terminal on a Saturday on a good day?
Yeah.
Trying to get to Waiheke?
Well,
Imagine that every day going to work.
Yeah. Our transport system needs to keep pace as well as if we're going to introduce
Absolutely,
that.
but the huge infrastructure deficits in this country, there's $275 billion of work either in the planning stages or proposed. Only 30% of that is maintenance and repairs. I spoke to Jeff Cooper of the Infrastructure Commission last night, and he said basically it should be double that. We're just not really good. We're good at saying we're going to buy things and saying we're going to build things, but we're not good at maybe we should
fix it.
Deal with people's effluent.
We're very spray and walk away.
And we'll need a user pay system to it.
Now, the births from women under 25. This is young. What the stats calls young women. I'm not making that.
I'm offended.
Young
I'm
women.
old. Anyway.
So young women, I think it was 46% back in 1965. So when the Harbour Bridge was still a baby, you had women, 46% of women giving birth were under the age of 25. Now that number is 14%. So the numbers out yesterday just showing that trend of, the delay, I suppose.
Look, I think this is the least surprising statistic of the year so far for me. And there's been a massive cultural shift. When I had my first child at the age of 27, some 39 years ago, I was considered a mature mum then. And, so now that cultural shift has swung the other way. And there's no doubt it's about, planned parenting, better education. And the cost of living is a great contraceptive, so I'm sure that's added to the delay.
Absolutely, yeah. I think also these days, a happy life for a woman isn't a white picket fence and a man and staying at home with 3 kids. That's not the ideal life for many women, whereas back then probably that was the goal, that was the dream. You'd settle down with anyone to try and find that, if, Mad Men or something was something to go by. But these days women are more independent. They've got their own lives and tie in, cost of living and stuff as well. I can't afford a kid.
Yeah. Do you think, Deb, that's true, that back in the day that there were a whole bunch of women who actually didn't want the life that society expected of them, but they kind of had to go along with it anyway?
I think that's partly true, but I think a lot of it's got to do with our education. Women are now expected to go into careers that's been made more accessible to us. So you fit your child in with your career now, whereas back in the day, breeding babies was just what you did.
Yeah. Now, I like this story. Katie suggested this one. A new law is banning influencer amateur Everest climbers. You know those people who go... bumped into one of these people at top of a mountain once overseas, and they were taking a selfie, and I said, do you want me to take the photo for you? And they were like, no, like they want it to be a selfie. There's something about having that vantage point, their own arm, and it just bizarre.
Okay, I have questions. What were you doing on top of a mountain?
Well, no. Like I didn't climb the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Okay. I was taken to the top of the mountain.
Oh, in a helicopter?
No, in a four-wheel drive. Anyway.
You can often a helicopter.
The idea of banning them if they're the influencer types. Do you reckon good idea, Chelsea?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, so many people die up Everest, and then the Sherpa community there has to go, save people, get them down. You can hire a whole bunch, but it's that give and take, right? Because what Everest has done to the Nepalese community around it is incredible. It's revitalised the area, and it pumps so much money into that area. But if you've got influencers up there, I feel like it takes away from the achievement of climbing Everest. You know what I mean? If you just see like Joe Schmo there, taking a selfie on top of the mountain, it doesn't feel like that big of a deal, whereas it is a huge deal. Have you seen those photos of people coming down and shaking and being like, I've only reached base camp? It looks like terror.
Yeah.
I think anything that makes adventure tourism more safe is a good decision. And when you think about it, you put on a life jacket to go out in a dinghy, you put on a bicycle helmet to cycle down the road, you strap in yourself in the seatbelt to go to the dairy, and you just need a selfie stick to climb a mountain. Really, I do think some checks and balances is an instinctively good idea on this one.
Yeah, 100%. Good to see you both this morning. Thanks so much for coming in. Chelsea Daniels, host of the Front Page podcast, and Deb Pead, Pead PR founder.